Super Rugby round 3. I'm a bit cautious about this first game. There are 2 games on the Friday. Blues up against Crusaders and then Rebels up against Waratahs. So you got an all New Zealand affair, then an all Aussie affair. So hopefully some good crowds out there supporting their team over their bitter rivals. I think the first one should get a decent crowd. The second one will be one to watch because it's the Rebels' first home game. But we will start with the first one. The Blues hosting the Crusaders. I read a stat today that said the Blues have lost 9 in a row against the Crusaders. So we're going for double figures to see if the Crusaders can get 10 in a row. So yeah, you can understand why I'm a little bit skeptical of how this one may end up going. It could end up going pretty bad. Although, as someone mentioned to me on Patreon the other day, the Crusaders looked mortal last week. And that was away from home. The Blues had one good half of rugby against the Chiefs. So maybe there's a chance. That's where you get into trouble as a Blues fan, when you start thinking there's a chance. But there's a chance. Maybe. Slim. I'll go over quickly the teams and the odds. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, the Blues record against the Crusaders is not good. They've definitely had the wood over our guys. Eden Park all down in Christchurch. I noticed the Blues social media team trying to pump up the game, and they kind of had to go back to some of the Carlos Spencer days to get some good footage of some Blues glory. So yeah, it's not one that the Blues come out of on the right side of that often. I'm going on about that, aren't I? They've brought in Parsons and Tuinukuafe played last week, and Tuangafasi in the front row. So it's an all black front row. Although James Parsons doesn't have a whole lot of caps. Was it 1 or 2 for the All Blacks? Maybe it's more. But either way, it's an experienced front row. Tuipulotu, Goodhue, second row. Papali'i, Gibson, Sotutu, who has been impressive in the loose. Ruru and Perafeta, 9 and 10. You'd say that if the Blues are going to have any shot of winning the game, Perafeta needs to kick his goals this time. Fa'ane and Marchand in the midfield is one of the better areas of the team. But, I mean, they're up against Goodhue and Enor. So you wouldn't say the Blues have got the better midfield. That's an all black midfield. They're up against Highland and Talea on the wings and Duffy at fullback. So yeah, that's the Blues lineup. Crusaders, Moody, Taylor and Ollie Jaeger in the front row. Scott Barrett, Dunshea second row. Grace, Christie, Sanders moves over from 6 to number 8. Grace gets a start this week. He didn't start last week. Bryn Hall gets a start. He didn't start last week. Mo'unga is back. Of course, he's back for this game. He couldn't have had another week off. Like I mentioned, Goodhue, Enor, Reese, Bridge, and Havili is back to his regular 15 jersey. So, I mean, I look at some kind of key matchups here. Duffy and Havili. Havili's the better fullback, man. Like, I mean, he knows how to kick to get out of trouble. Duffy's a pretty good player, but I would rather him on the wing if I was going to play him. So yeah, you could always put Perafeta at fullback if you put Duffy on the wing. You can drop Highland out of the starting squad. I don't know, man. You can move things around. I think there's probably better options that you could go to, but I'm not the coach. So yeah, Perafeta against Mo'unga. That's probably going to be a key matchup, and you know who's the favourite in that race. How the two front rows go up against each other will be an interesting one, because Moody and his scrummaging, I still feel like has a bit of a question mark about it. And they've brought in Tuangafasi to go up against him. So if the Blues can get that one area under control, that would be a solid step forward to at least troubling the Crusaders on this game. So yeah, both sides are 1 win and 1 loss. Like I said, the Blues lost at home to the Chiefs. They were leading at halftime. The Crusaders also lost to the Chiefs. That was away in Hamilton. So both sides have lost to the Chiefs, and both sides have beaten the Waratahs, actually, now that I think about it. The Crusaders beat them at home in the first week, and the Blues beat them away last week. That's crazy, isn't it? So yeah, the Crusaders are favourites, and it's not just me saying that. The TAB, which is the bookies, have got them by 7. Rugby Forecast algorithm has them by 6. Maybe it's the bench that you got to look at to see who's going to win. I mean, Will Jordan's on the bench for the Crusaders. Luke Romano, Michael Alatoa, Andrew Makaleo, that's probably a bit more depth than the Blues. You know, they've still got Mafaleo, who's fine. Lambourne had a good game in that first week. Plummer. But yeah. Not holding my breath, Blues fans. I will still be there at the game. Me and the old man said if the Blues win away in Sydney, we'll go to the game. So I'll go to the game. I'll support my team. I'm just not getting my hopes up. Don't want to get burned, man. Gotta hope, though. Gotta live in hope. The next game is the Rebels against the Tars. I do wonder if this one might have a poor crowd because the Rebels haven't won the game. They lost to Sunwolves and they lost to the Brumbies away. They haven't played at home yet. So that's one thing. Maybe their fans are just dying to get out there and see some rugby. The Waratahs have also lost 2 games. They lost to the Blues and the Crusaders. So it's their first game against the non-New Zealand team. So maybe they go into this one as favourites on that regard. Because, I mean, the Brumbies are a good team. So it's not a disgrace. They've won, I think, 10 in a row at home. It's not a disgrace that the Rebels lost there. But the Sunwolves one was indeed pretty bad. There's not too many changes in the sides. Hardwick comes up from the bench for the Rebels. He's at number 7. Lawrence gets the start at number 9. So Cottrell and Lomani are down to the bench. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same team. Gibbon, Rangi, Smith, Ross Haylett, Pillity, Phillip, Wells, Nasarani's still there. Tamua's still there at number 10. Korobidi, Meeks. Oh, Magnay is also there at outside centre, which is an interesting one. I don't think I've seen him play there before. Isn't he usually on the wing? And then Reece Hodges moved to the wing from 13. So, yeah, that'll be one to watch. I could be mistaken about that. The Tars, they've also put Bell at loose head. They've brought Jed Holloway up from the bench. Newsom's at 13. So Newsom up against Magnay. That's a 13 against 13 that I wouldn't have really seen coming. Cam Clark is back on the wing. Robertson drops down to the bench for prop cover. That young fella, Mark Nawanita-Wase, he is on the bench, thankfully, because he looked to be pretty hurt last week. Took a pretty nasty fall in that game against the Blues when he was going in to score a try. Kind of his head and neck kind of, I don't know, it looked pretty uncomfortable, but he's come through and he's cleared to play. I think past all his HIM and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty good news. Interestingly, the Rebels are going for a 6-2 split, so maybe they are looking to try and get on and really dominate the Tars at up front basically. So yeah, it should be an interesting game. But like I said, 2 teams who haven't won a game. Whoever loses this one, it's looking like a pretty long season, isn't it? So both teams will be pretty desperate to get a win. But yeah, should be a bit of fun. You guys let me know your thoughts on these games. Who do you think is going to get the job done? There'll be at least one team in blue, I would imagine, who wins it, because 3 of the 4 teams play in blue. So yeah, we'll see how things go. Hopefully the Crusaders aren't wearing their away jersey, because it is very much like a Blues jersey, but someone did remind me that they are made of like recycled plastic, so that might be the reason for the colour scheme. But the Blues away one is like made from, it's white, so I'm not sure what their colour options were. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games, and I will talk to you again soon. See you later.